Chapter 12, Section 2, the slope of a line. The objective of this lesson is to learn to find the slope of a line and use the slope to understand and draw graphs. The constant rate of change of a line is called the slope of a line. Let's take a look at this graph down here, this picture. If you can see the red line on here, there are some blue words and some red words that go along with this red line. Notice that the blue words, they follow the dotted blue line from one dot to the next, but they only go vertically, straight up. So from here, we have a dotted blue line that stops right here. That dotted blue line is 3 units long. It goes 3 spaces. It goes 1, 2, 3. Let's go to the next blue line from the next red dot. From here, it's a vertical line, 1, 2, 3. And this one, 1, 2, 3 spaces. Notice that it says rise equals 3. Rise equals 3, rise equals 3. The green line from one dot to the next only travels horizontally, or right to left, and it's only 2 spaces. 1, 2. The next green line, 1, 2. The next green line, 1, 2. That's called the run. Now, I think it's pretty simple to understand rise and run. Rise being vertical because you would rise up. Run, you would run right or left. So rise is vertical, run is horizontal. They work together. So from one dot we rise 3, 1, 2, 3, and run 2, 1, 2. Rise 3, 1, 2, 3 spaces, and run 2, 1, 2. Rise 3, run 2. This rise and run will actually be the slope of the line. The rise is the difference of the y values of 2 points on a line. Now rise is up and down. The y-axis is the vertical axis. Notice the blue lines are only going vertically. So that is working with the y values. So this y value, for this dot, the y value is 2. For this point on the graph, the y value is 5. So from 2 to 5, 1, 2, 3, it's a difference of 3. When it says the rise is the difference, 5 and 2, the difference is 3. This y value is 5. This y value is 8. The difference of 5 and 8 is 3. So the rise is the difference. The rise equals 3. The rise equals 3. Now the run. The run is horizontal, which is the x variables, which is the green line here. That is the difference of the x values of 2 points on a line. So this x value is 0. At this point, x is 0. At this point, x is 2. That's a difference of 2, or a run of 2. This point, x is 2. This point, x is 4. That's a difference of 2. So the run is 2. Now the slope, we combine. We put both of those together. The slope of the line is a ratio or a fraction of rise to run for any 2 points on the line. So the slope is written as a fraction of rise over run. Rise is the change in y over the run, which is the change in x. Now remember that y is the dependent variable and x is the independent variable. Alright, on this slide, what we've got here is some descriptions of the slope in words, and then as a formula, and then as an example. I'm going to jump right down to here, and then we'll come back to this. If I take a look at our first example, I've got 2 points, 0, -3, and 5, -5. What we're going to do is call these coordinate pairs simply group 1, or x from group 1 and y from group 1. Over here, I've got an x value and a y value, and I'm going to call it x from group 2 and y of group 2. Now, we're going to be asked to use those to help find the slope of the line. Now, in the equation, I've got y from group 2, which is over here. Y from group 2 is -5. So I'm going to bring that to my numerator. from negative 5. Now I'm going to subtract y from group 1. So I go back up to group 1. This is the value of y in group 1, which is negative 3. And I'm going to put that in to the equation. So I have negative 5 minus negative 3. Negative 5 y from group 2 minus negative 3, which is y from group 1. In my denominator, I have x from group 2. So I go back up here. In group 2, this is my x value, which is 5, and I'm going to bring that down to the denominator. Then I need to subtract, so I put my subtraction sign in, x from group 1. I go up to group 1, the value of x is 0. So I'm going to bring that down to the equation. Now I'm going to simplify the numerator, but remember I am subtracting a negative, and I can do my kung fu math. I can add a positive. So now I've got negative 5 plus a positive 3 is going to come out to be negative 2. 5 minus 0 is 5. I'm going to simplify this or write this as a fraction. I've got negative 2/5. The slope of a line that goes through 0, negative 3, and 5, negative 5, the slope is negative 2/5. Another method of finding the slope is to locate the points on a graph. So 0, negative 3 is here. 5, negative 5 is here. And now we can simply start at one point and rise and run to get to the next point. So from this point on the left, I'm not going to rise, but I'm going to fall. I'm going to fall 1, 2. So actually my rise is not 2, but negative because it's going down. From here, what do I have to travel in order to get to the next point? I'm going to have to travel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 values. This is my run because it is horizontal. So my run would be 5. So let's try that again. From this point, I want to travel going vertically and horizontally to the next point. So from here, I'm going to go down 2, and that's really my rise, but because I'm going down, that's a negative 2. Rise equals a negative 2. From here, I am going to run to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. So my slope would be negative 2 over 5. What we did here is we looked at these coordinate pairs. In the first example up here, we used just the numbers, the coordinates, to calculate the slope using this formula. On the bottom example, these coordinate pairs were placed on a graph. On that graph, we used rise and run, moving vertically and horizontally to find our slope. So now let's go up to this box. The slope of the line is a ratio, a fraction of the difference we are subtracting. In the y values, we found the difference. To the difference of the x values, here's the difference of the x values between any two different points on the line. So these words are describing what's happening here. If we use a formula, we have two coordinates, x and y and x and y, but we have to distinguish between the groups, group 1 and group 2. We need to find the difference of the y values, so y2, y from group 2 minus y from group 1 over x from group 2 minus x from group 1. Rise and run. And our example is written in this box. Remember that slope is a rate of change. In real-world problems, finding the slope can give you information about how a quantity is changing. The example: the graph shows the height of a plant over a period of days. Find the slope of the line, then tell what the slope represents. So here's our line, and we need to calculate this slope. If I look on here, I find 2 points on this graph. I see 30, 10, and 50, 20. Now, remember that our slope, we have a formula. Rise over run. Rise is vertical, which is our y-axis. So I have y from group 2 minus y from group 1 over x from group 2 minus x from group 1. Let's start with y from group 2. I go back over here, and that is 20. So I'm going to put 20 in the numerator. Now I'm going to subtract y from group 1. Let's go to group 1. That y from group 1 is 10. So I'm going to take 20 and subtract 10. In the denominator, I've got x from group 2, which is 50. I'm going to bring that over to this denominator. Now I'm going to subtract x from group 1. I go to group 1, and I see that the x value is 30. So 30 is going to go up here in the denominator. So now I'm going to simplify 20 minus 10 and 50 minus 30. I'm going to come up with 10/20ths. Now that's the slope of the line. However, we want to tell what that slope represents. The y value is vertical, so 20 and 10 are dealing with the height of the plant. 20 minus 10 comes out to be 10, but the height is in centimeters, so it's actually going to be 10 centimeters. 20 is the x on the x-axis, which is the time in days, so that's actually going to be 20 days. Now I can simplify this into 1 centimeter over 2 days. That means the plant grows 1 centimeter every 2 days. Now when we look at slope of a line, we can identify a positive slope as a line that rises from the left to the right. So this would be an example of a positive slope. A negative slope falls from the left to the right. So this line would have a negative slope. A zero slope would be a horizontal line. This line has a slope of 0. There is one other line, and that's a vertical line. A vertical line actually has an unidentified slope. We'll talk about this unidentified slope at a later time. So a quick review. A positive slope goes up from the left to the right. Negative slope goes down from the left to the right. A zero slope is horizontal. Unidentified slope is a vertical line. Alright, now you're being asked to find the slope of this line. Now remember that slope is rise over run. Now what we're going to do is take a look at the line on the graph, and we want to find 2 points on that line that intersect the grid lines that are easily to identify their coordinate pairs. So the first one I see is right here, and I follow the line up, and there's another one right here. So we are going to start at the point on the left, and we are going to travel vertically and horizontally up to the next point. So from here, we're going to travel up 1, 2, 3 units up. From here, we're going to travel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units to the right. So the 3 is going to be our rise, and the 5 will be our run. So we simply bring down 3 into the numerator and 5 into the denominator. So the slope of this line is 3/5. In our last example, we're going to find the slope of the line that passes through these pair of points. The pair of points is -2, -2, and -4, 1. So we're going to use our equation. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Now, we're going to name these groups. This will be group 1, y from group 1, x from group 1, y from group 1, x from group 2, y from group 2. So I want y from group 2, which is 1. I'm going to bring that down to the numerator. Now I'm going to subtract y from group 1, which is -2. But remember, I'm going to subtract a -2. In the denominator, I've got x from group 2, which is -4. And I'm going to subtract x from group 1, which is -2. So -4, take away a -2. Now I'm going to take away a negative so I can perform my kung fu math in the numerator and the denominator. In the numerator, I've got 1 plus 2, which comes out to be 3. In the denominator, I've got -4 plus 2, which would come out to be -2. So the slope of this line is 3 over -2.